Hello, Donald Harrison, the Big Chief of Congo
How you
Swear.
doing, Dr. Thunder?
I'm doing all right, man. It's so great
Yes, sir.
to talk to you again. Um, the last time I saw you in person was in 2018 when we did that Charlie Parker with Strings concert um,
Wonderful.
at Ohio State, and that was a dream come true uh, on a few fronts. In particular, being able to play Charlie Parker's music, those arrangements um, was probably a once in a lifetime kind of thing. But more importantly, um, you've been a hero of mine for a long time. Remember when I was in college, in particular, when I really got turned on to you, and I still play. I still play stuff that I stole from you, and
Oh,
so you know, yeah, you've been a profound influence on me, and um, I just yeah. So anyhow, I just I was just blessed and fortunate to have the opportunity to play with you, and thanks again for being willing to do these interviews or
oh,
to
it's my pleasure.
participate in these interviews, this
And
interview series.
for your information, now I'm a fan of yours, and I'm checking you out too. So that's how it goes, man. You kept growing, and you came to be one of the best players, man. So kudos to you for doing your work and also being a great educator and a doctor. There's a lot of great things that you've done, and I'm very proud to know you as well.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Um, so, Donald, can you tell us about yourself and where you're from, where you grew up, and what your childhood was like?
My childhood, I wasn't a musician, but I was in the culture of New Orleans, the what I call Afro New Orleans culture. My father was a chief in that, and also the second lines. And at home, I heard all types of music. So I was always into listening to everything and loving all types of music. But uh, being that both my parents were huge jazz fans, I when I started playing, I was about 16 years old. I decided I wanted to really study Charlie Parker. I had been checking out Grover Washington because he was on the radio at the time. But then Charlie Parker became my hero, and that led to everything that I'm doing now. I play all types of music, but the focus is still on learning Charlie Parker. He did so much with the music, and he's so creative and relentless with his moving through all kind of harmony and rhythm and melodic ideas in his improvisation, just like listening to a symphonic composer doing it instantaneously. That's what I call. He's like composing on the level of Beethoven, but in our way, uh, but instantaneously.
Yeah,
Without the time to really think about. Okay, I want this orchestral piece to go here. He's doing it instantaneously.
yeah. Such an incredible musician. Uh, I wouldn't sound. None of us would sound, like we do without the influence of Charlie Parker. So what were some of your early influences?
Well, of course, coming from New Orleans, Cindy Bechet is one of the first guys to really have the proficiency on the instrument and understand all the harmony. And in my estimation, the first guy to really improvise in a way that was always stretching all the limits of what he knew. He's the first guy that, you know, Louis Armstrong is great too. And he also stretched, but maybe he didn't play a lot of fast notes like Sidney Bechet. You know, Louis had the incredible sound and rhythmic diversity and understanding of a lot of things. But if you really check him out, he really never played fast. But Sidney Bechet had all of those things, and he could play fast too. And he also played advanced harmony, and I was always stretching. If you really listen, whatever chord they played, Sidney Bechet was always on it, man. I mean, the same stuff that we're playing now. He's the first guy to really play pentatonic scales. If you listen at what he's doing, he's playing pentatonic scales. So he was one of my first heroes. And then I started studying the guys in the swing era. I was fortunate to have a day with Count Basie. When I was 19, I was working with Roy Haynes, and then Count Basie said, "Who is this young kid playing the saxophone?" And he called me over, and I spent the day with him, and he was like trying to give me as much as he could about the history of Kansas City and how those sounds were put together. And I got to realize that Benny Moten was very important, and that Count Basie actually played with Benny Moten, and that a lot of great Ben Webster was in that band, and they were playing. It actually started out playing sort of a New Orleans sound, and if you go get those records with Ben Webster, you can hear how its sound changed over the years. And I got to New York and got to play with I'm surprised that I've played with over 200 masters in my life. Yeah. Some of the greatest musicians in the world, and they all taught me. Each one is a lesson. Every time you know, like we're talking about, you heard me and you got some stuff from me. Now I hear you and I get some stuff from you, and that's what music is about. We bump into each other, and it's a give and take. And every time you go through that process, you come away a better musician, or what I call more stuff in your bag, and more stuff to practice. You know, and that gives you the depth. You know, the depth of in your playing. In my estimation, John Coltrane was on 500 records as a sideman. So that'll give you how much music he learned. Every time, you know, he was around Monk, he learned something from Monk. Miles learned something from Dizzy. Everybody, you know, you bump into. So you can hear that incredible wealth of knowledge in his playing. Charlie Parker, the same thing. They played with everybody, all types of music. Charlie Parker was actually playing on some records that would be considered rap music today, you know. With people doing the jive talk or whatever you want to call it. He was on commercial records of the day, blues singers, all kind of stuff. He played with everybody, and you can hear that if you really listen. You can hear all of those things that he had. He understood his predecessors, and he bumped into so many people, and he was playing all of that. John Coltrane, when he really got it together, it was. And the way I think of it is when he put his whole life, he put this gospel experience, the stuff he got from Africa, from Dizzy and Miles, he put all those sounds together. Even the R&B stuff he was playing, when they say walk in the bar, there's recordings of him playing R&B, when he's going, wah, you know, when they hit those, you can hear that when he had the band with McCoy Tyner, that rock and roll stuff coming out in the saxophone. But if you don't, you have to go back and listen to the whole history of a player from the beginning, all of his recorded, even when he was in jam sessions, to see how he put stuff together when he was really young, emoting some music like Charlie Parker on the saxophone. So these guys have been through so much, and then they put it together, and they give us a great lesson from who they are and their life. And I just, all I've done is chase that concept, you know, learning from the masters and then putting my little spin on it.
Well, you know, speaking of that, I mean, I like I said, back again in Columbus when we played that Charlie Parker with strings, you know, I've listened to that, you know, that recording several times. In particular, that last selection that we did where I got a chance to trade with you, which was I was on cloud nine. You know, I'm trying to think of when we initially met, because it was before, obviously, it was before Columbus. So this would have been, I think it was at an IAJE conference. And back in those days, my dad was with me all the time.
I
Um,
remember. Yeah.
and so you would have met me and him at the same time. And I just remember, uh, I remember seeing you and knowing, immediately who you were, and just being excited for the opportunity to meet you. Um, and not from the same time that we met, but from sometime later, or maybe this was in the liner notes of one of your CDs, one of the CDs that I was, very influenced by, where you have the composition Blue Rose.
Oh yeah.
And can you talk a little bit about Blue Rose and maybe another composition that was obviously influenced by it?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, Blue Rose. When I heard it, I said, "Oh, that's Giant Steps." For me, it was Giant Steps. But then I figured out another thing, which was because Blue Rose has it starts on the tonic, then it goes down a half step to the minor, and does a 2-5-1. So if you're in B, it'll go B major, A minor 7, D, G. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if you take out the 2 chord, you'll see the A minor. You see it's the same motion as Giant Steps. The B to the D.
Mm.
So if you add the minor chord into Giant Steps, you'll see. I think Giant Step is in D, right? I can't remember.
Uh,
The first chord is D. D. So anyway, I think
the
yeah,
first chord
whatever.
is a B major 7 on.
Okay, so I'm in the right key. Okay, B
Yeah.
major. If you go B major, A minor 7, D, G. If you go down a whole step, you'll see
Mm.
that John just left the 2 chords out
All right.
because that's the motion: B, A, D, G, F, B flat, E flat. So once I saw that, I was like, oh, that's Giant Steps is really not that hard because it's just 2-5-1s. You just leave out the minor chord, and it's
Mm.
easy. Or then you can, as you know, you can go down and use the 5th of the 7 chord. If you go B major, and then D7 uh, with the A in the bass, and G major,
Mm.
and B flat with the F in the bass, the 5th. Then you get to the E flat. So then it opens your mind. But Blue Rose is the thing where I figured out how to look at Giant Steps in a million ways. And then then the other composition John wrote that was giving me fits, Countdown, became a lot easier. I was like, I actually just recorded Countdown. It became, once I had a way to look at it from different perspectives, then they became like, oh, I see how this go now. So I want to thank Duke Ellington for writing. Actually, I think it was Billy Strayhorn who wrote Blue Rose. We have to look that up. I'm finding out that Billy Strayhorn wrote a lot of things.
Mm. So it's interesting because obviously Coltrane was influenced
Oh yeah,
by Duke,
of
and
course.
of course there's a recording where they're playing together, and I think what's most interesting and inventive about the giant step substitution is not where he got the substitution from. It's obviously influenced by Duke or by Strayhorn, but it's what he does with it.
Oh yeah,
All these tunes that he creates, it's like these contrafacts with you know uh, these chord substitutions superimposed over the progressions. 26-2, which is confirmation, and and satellite, which is ornithology, and fifth house, which is hot house, which is what is this thing called love, and I mean all of these tunes. Countdown is tune up, and
right.
so it's like so amazing how he is paying respect to his forefathers, in particular to Charlie Parker, right? He's paying respects to that, but also pushing this thing forward at the same time. It's quite incredible.
Yeah, and that's the lesson. And I'm so happy to hear you say what you're saying, because everybody has different ideas about the music, and it's right for them. But I feel like we're on the same page, so that makes I think like you put it like that. I think we think like Charlie Parker and John Coltrane too.
Hey.
So it's always good to have confirmation. I could hear it in your playing anyway.
Thank you, sir. So, so why did you become a musician? What was it about music that just drew you in?
I mean, for me, music is a place where you can be transcendental,
Mm,
and also it's a place where you uh, can use your talents or whatever gift you have to bring people together and spread love and joy. You know, it's always I always feel great when people leave and they're happy from a concert, because that meant we uh, we did something that made them feel better. And if they besides that, if they understand how hard we've worked to really understand the music and try to bring it to another place, as you were saying about John Coltrane and those guys, and to understand our history, if they understand that, that's just icing on the cake. So it's just we can just play a little saxophone and make a better day for somebody. That's an incredible gift that's been bestowed upon us, and to be able to share that in any capacity is just the most wonderful feeling for me, you know. And share on the bandstand with the musicians, you know, guys who get on the bandstand and they listen to each other and try to understand and uh, have respect for each other. We all have our own different ideas, which is what this music is also about. That even though we all came from listening, not everybody, but the guys that you put on the bandstand and the guys that I play with, most of us came from uh, trying to understand our predecessors.
yeah.
But we're doing it our way. So I just love hearing guys and seeing how they put things together. And if I really love them, what they're doing, then they give me something to go work on and enhance who I am as a human being. So there's so much positive things that happens on the bandstand and with music, uh, that I can't even mention them all. But it's been a glorious ride, and I feel like it's a privilege and an honor to be able to play this music and to be able to interact with some of the greatest minds that are walking on the planet today, and guys with the biggest hearts that are walking on the planet today, that are dedicated to understanding the music and keeping it alive. I mean, that's, I could talk on and on
Yeah.
because it's just so incredible.
That's it's something that I noticed about you, like immediately upon listening to you and then listening different recordings of yours. I mean, you've really evolved. You've changed, and so this stuff that you're talking about, as far as learning something from the people that you play with, and then working stuff out and figure things out, and um, that's not just talk. I mean, that's stuff that I hear in your playing, and there's a lot of musicians, and even some really great musicians, uh, that they get to a certain place and they pretty much they don't change after that. They found what it is that they wanted to do, and that they just kind of stay there. And this is nothing against uh, those players, but when I listen to you, um, it's always evolving. I mean, when we played in Columbus, you played stuff that I hadn't heard you play before, and I've listened to a lot of Donald Harrison. So, so, so it's obvious to me that you are, constantly practicing, constantly working on stuff. What kinds of things do you practice? Like, as opposed to maybe things that you used to practice. What are you like? What are you into right now? Like, what are you working on?
You wouldn't believe it, but I'm incorporating trap rhythms from trap rappers onto
Mm,
the saxophone right now. So
interesting.
because they have a different flow. I've always listened to rappers and tried to uh, first I, 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 I rap in a style, learn how to rap in a style. Then I try to incorporate it in a musical way on the saxophone. So I've always done that. But right now, uh, and I'm always listening to Charlie Parker. But one of the things I'm doing is incorporating trap rhythms in this new R&B that these kids are doing. How they move the rhythm around because they're
Yeah,
moving the rhythm differently and figuring out how I can use those rhythms and also put a harmonic spin on it and make it hip.
that's very interesting to me because when I was in college, I had this project. So a little bit of a backstory. I was a hip hop head growing up. I mean, I was studying jazz. I was playing jazz. I was, recording and composing and stuff. But I was also into hip hop, and so I produced a couple artists when I was, towards the end of high school and into college there, and uh, I remember doing this project when I was in college where I started transcribing the rhythms of certain rappers, in particular, uh, folks like Rakim,
Oh yeah,
you know,
and he was
and
he was checking out jazz.
right, and it's interesting. A buddy of mine, great trombone player named Vincent Chandler, who's also a great rapper, and he's a scat singer too. Um, but Vince and I, we would have these conversations about how rap really, it's just bebop, rhythmically. Like if you hear the way that they're uh, breaking the rhythms up, um, again, the primary vehicle is the eighth note, and then if you hear how they're emphasizing which part of the beat they're emphasizing, if you listen to, the use of triplets and how they
Hmm.
use triplets sometimes um, to break up, the flow, break up the, it's very very interesting. And so I would transcribe these things, and then I went back and I would try to write lines using those rhythms, and I found that I was like, man, this literally is it bebop. It's like the same stuff, you know.
Well,
I think it's
I helped a young rapper by the name of Notorious B.I.G.
mm,
when he was young, and I'm actually in this all about from when he was 13 to 18. He used to come to my house every day, and his style is based upon on the bebop snare drum. Some of the
mm,
stuff I let Mike Clark hear some stuff, and I said, "I think it is his rhythms as you playing the snare drum." And he heard, he's like, "Yeah, it's just." I said, "Yeah," because I had him uh, transcribe the rhythms from a bebop drummer like Max Roach or somebody, and then put his rhymes on it. So he's rhyming on with jazz rhythms from a drum solo. So we all bumping into each other and learning things, and that's the thing. I'm glad to hear that you're doing that too. About our generation, there's so much out here, and to be in tune, we have to be aware of the music That's our generation's music. And that's the same thing Bird and Train did, and Sidney Bechet. They all took in everything that was around them, and that's how it's going to stay current. If we include, my statement is always jazz is inclusive, not exclusive. So if we follow that mantra and learn how to use everything around us, then it'll stay current for us. There's some people doing that, and some great experiments. When my good friend Wallace Roney passed away, I thought about him and how he used techno stuff on some of his records, and and maybe they didn't pay attention that he was adding different elements to the music, but he was experimenting, and maybe they'll catch up to some of that stuff one day. But I'm always listening to all the stuff people are doing and how they're adding different. I listen.
So you've played with like everybody. Um, so what were some of your favorite experiences, favorite bands to play with? And this is not intended to be, um, uh, you know, it's not intended to single anything out, you know, per se. But
Yeah,
yeah.
I was just saying, one of the things Miles Davis told me was when you take something, move it around till it's yours.
Mm.
So I always remember that. I was in my 20s when he told me that. How you can take something and look at it from different angles, and then it becomes something that you did. Like John Coltrane does the diminished thing. I don't heed you, that thing. So if you go a B flat, A flat, D flat to C flat on a diminished scale. So he's doing the whole step. So I said, let me do the half steps. A flat G, B to B flat, F to E, A flat G. So it's the same thing, but it's turned around. Or do B flat to A flat, then B flat, then G to F and A flat G. So you turned it around now.
Hmm.
So somebody hears it, they say, "Oh, no, that's not really that. What is that?" But it's still the same thing. But you made it different. Then you might put it in a different rhythm. I might put it in five. Let that bitty be that baby bitty be that 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
People here about bitty be happy they have bitty be happy. So now you transformed it into something else. And if you keep doing that over years and years and years, you have a style that's based on Charlie Parker, but it don't sound nothing like him. But you can hear it in there. You just over years it evolves to something else.
So, um, okay. So you've been inspired and influenced by everyone that you've played with. Um, who in particular have you been inspired by? Like which particular artists? I mean, you talked about Charlie Parker um, and we talked about Coltrane for a while. And who in particular your earliest influence? I know you talked about Sidney Bechet. If you had to target someone as far as early influences, who would that be?
Well, those three guys for sure.
All right.
Miles Davis,
Right.
the heavyweights, Duke Ellington. I was always listening to those guys, and all the cats who play with Roy Haynes. Just so many. It's just so many brilliant musicians, and people get mad at me, but I know this is true. For me, if you understand bebop on a higher level, you are a genius. That's some hard music, man. But all the saxophone players, Ben Webster, Coleman Hawkins, Sonny Rollins. Everybody, man. Joe Henderson, Joe Hen. everybody from all the eras, man, who took this thing to another place, and even trumpeters and drummers. You know, I was talking about playing fives, and that's something I got from Tony Williams because he plays the fives. So I said, let me put them fives. I play flams on the drums. Blah 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 blah. You can put that on saxophone too. So you can take anything that anybody's doing and put it on. You don't have to. Saxophonists don't only have to listen to saxophonists.
No.
We can listen to any instrument and say, or any style of music. You can listen to hip hop and be influenced by that. So it's just so much. If you want to do the work, you know, if you say I'm gonna spend an hour learning something every day, even if you don't play your horn, then you're gonna just thinking about it. You're gonna grow. One of the things I tell my students, the thing about work. Here's an example. If you take a shovel and every day you go outside and just dig one time with a shovel, in 50 years, you're going to see the biggest hole and everybody else going to see your work. So just put in the work and you'll see it in the end. But, and put in the work on something that you love to do because it's going to be gratifying. And somebody's going to see it and you'll be all right.
So Donald, you're a composer.
Yeah.
You're a composer too. Can you talk a little bit about maybe some of your more recent compositions, and maybe talk a little bit about your process and some you know, some composers that have been influential?
Yeah, I mean, all the great jazz composers. We talked about Billy Strayhorn. Oof, that's so deep. Duke Ellington, even Sidney Bechet, Petit Fleur, all the stuff. And all the guys who wrote those great songs for Art Blakey, Charlie Parker, and Miles Davis, John Coltrane, all those guys. And of course, I listen to a lot of classical music as well. All those great composers, all the R&B guys, soul guys, Stevie Wonder, a lot of great chord changes, you know, incredible melodies. For me, I won't say all of them, but a lot of Stevie Wonder songs could be jazz songs. They could be jazz standards, you know, because they're written so well. Stuff on and Motown, all this stuff from here, the Funky Meters, I got to play with them, and all the people. Alan Toussaint, another great, incredible writer, influential writer from New Orleans, who did a lot of stuff that has influenced music. So just a lot of different styles of music. And then what I did was one day from learning all those, I started hearing how they are all cousins, and same thing you were saying about hip hop, that they all go together, and that's how I came up with that nouveau swing thing, that mixing those genres together. And also one thing that I've always, because I came up in New Orleans, we always danced to music. So I always had a feeling that I should be putting my concept of dancing, the movements, into the music. So I'll write a song. I think about dancing and what I'm doing in the dance, and write the song based upon the dance steps and the movements. You know, your shoulders are moving different against your hands and your feet and your head. And so there's a syncopation in that. Then you write a melody with that. If you dance, you'll see what I'm saying about. If you can focus on each part of your body, you'll see what I'm talking about. And you can write a drum patterns off of that too. It's just so many things that music can draw from. So when on Nouveau Swing, I say I'm playing from a dancer's perspective. That's what I'm talking about. I have incorporated understanding how to think about each limb of my body, and putting that into an improvisation, or writing a song about from that perspective.
Is there anything that you're working on right now? Any compositions or?
Oh yeah, I'm working on a new approach. Well, not new. I've always done it, but I'm going to put it out now. I've always done, I guess, what I call multi-genre recordings, where I record a song in different styles. But
Oh yeah.
the record companies wouldn't let me put it out when I was young. They said you can't do a jazz version of a song, an R&B, and a hip hop version of a song. But maybe people won't understand it, but I understand it, so I put it out there. They told me don't do that. So I've been recording like that forever, but I never put those songs out. So now a couple of those things are on YouTube where you can hear. But they because if I hadn't been playing all those different styles of music, I wouldn't have came up with the sounds that I came up with. It's all based upon a lot of different influences and a lot of different things that I did. So and just putting them together to be one thing and to bring people together. That's always been my concept: bring people together to understand each other. You know, if you like hip hop, be able to dig the jazz guy too. It would be not. I would be so happy if I saw some young people digging jazz if they heard something that I did or some of the other players, and it opens their eyes to something. And then they like all the music like we do because you like hip hop and jazz.
Yeah, you know, there's only two kinds of music. There's good music, and then there's the other kind, right? So,
Yeah, I thought I want to amend Duke Ellington. I know he said that because I came up with you know what? If you play something and you like it yourself, then it's worthy. If you play something and one person likes it or digs it, then it's worthy because somebody got some happiness out of it. Even if you miss every note, if somebody's happy, then you did a good job. Or somebody felt something, or even if you just felt something. So that's one way of looking at it. But we also have to know that there are people who have worked hard to understand uh, the music on the highest level possible, and they should be commended for their hard work as well.
so, so who were some of your teachers?
Well, I always feel like the greatest lesson is on the bandstand.
Mm-hmm.
So the first guy I played with was Roy Haynes, and he started teaching me how he interacted with Charlie Parker and Art Blakey as well. But all those guys that you get to go, well, I'd say two people that I can say changed my life from the very first note. The first time I played with Miles Davis, I was a different musician after that. When I played with Art Blakey, I say three: Roy Haynes, Art Blakey, and Miles. They changed. I was different immediately after playing the first song. It's like, oh, light switch. This is what I gotta go do. You know immediately, man. I don't know how they're able to do that, but I knew immediately what I had to go work on. But in terms of teaching in school, I had Alvin Batiste at Southern University and Edward Kidd Jordan at Southern University in New Orleans, Ellis Marcellus and Joe Viola at Berkeley, and Bill Pierce was actually my teacher. He's the guy who introduced me to Art Blakey.
Mm.
He said, "It's my student, man. He can play." Art said, "Go get your horn," because I didn't have my horn. Actually, what he said was, "Where's your horn?" I said, "I left it at school." He said, "You never leave your horn. Go get your horn and come back and play." So that's the first time I met Art Blakey. He told me to come and play. First time I met Miles Davis, I was going to see Freddie Hubbard, and he was in line in front of me, but I didn't realize it was Miles. And when we got inside Club Fat Tuesdays, he saw I had a saxophone because I remember what Art Blakey had told me, and he told me to go sit in with Freddie Hubbard, Ron Carter, Al Foster, and Kenny Barron on piano, and I think David Snitter was playing saxophone. Miles just told me, and I had never met them, go play. And then he said, I said, I can't play with them. I don't know them. He said, if they say something, tell them I told you to play. And he pushed me on the stage.
You know, you're talking about, you know, moments that changed you. One moment that changed me was I must have been 23, 24, something like that. And I had an opportunity to play with Wynton. And so I played two tunes. I played Green Chimneys and Cherokee. And you know, Wynton does that thing on Cherokee where he circular breathes and just keeps playing. And he's playing all this incredible, acrobatic, ridiculous stuff that no one on earth can play, you know. And he played like 4 courses, you know, and we're playing at like 340 or something, fast tempo, right? And you know, and I played my solo, whatever, you know, and then we talked and stuff. We had conversation afterwards, which was really cool. But I remembered thinking, you know what? The next time I play with Wynton, I'm going to have something for him because I'm going to get my circular breathing together. So I started working on all this circular breathing stuff. And so Wynton, if you're watching,
You're right.
I'm ready for round 2.
But he's not the cat you got to worry about for circular breathing. You know who got the world record is Kenny G.
Oh, right.
He's got the king of circular breathing. He's got that down. He's the man.
Yeah, but he doesn't play anything though. The guys that I dig that can circular breathe.
He's still the king of circular breathing though.
Yeah, well, the cats you know, James Carter, for instance, is killing at that. You know,
he can circular breathe too.
Right, and but he's playing stuff. You know,
Right.
and that's what I try to do with it. Is, you know, I'm trying to think of lines that I couldn't play unless I could circular breathe. That's different than, you know, holding a note or something. But I mean, I'm not trying to throw too much shade on anybody.
Yeah,
but
Kenny G is cool.
just
Man. I like Kenny. He's all right.
Yeah.
He's a smooth jazz man.
Yeah. So, so I was asking you about what you practice, and you were talking about the trap beats and things. What future goals do you have? And are there some unfinished projects that you're trying to get finished? And how about personal growth? How about maybe things that are not particularly related to music? You know, we're in this quarantine right now. You know, it's a good time for introspection. And yeah.
Well, I mean, you just got to get up every day as a human being and see what you're doing right and see what you're doing wrong and try to correct the stuff that you're doing wrong.
Mm.
You know, and try to live with love and no need to be better than anybody else. I'm glad I never had the need to be better than anybody else. That I realized in music, it's not about being greater than anybody, another person. I never wanted to be greater than another person. I just wanted to be the best that I could be.
Mm.
And if you live like that, then it makes life easier. I remember Art Blakey saying, if you think you're the greatest, then you have to go prove that. And that's what drives you crazy. Because there's no way to prove. There's no way to prove that you're greater than somebody else. How could another person think of what you're thinking of? It's impossible, you know. You can only do what you can do. And Charlie Parker said the same lesson in a way when he said, if you didn't live it, it ain't coming out your horn. So you can't tell a story that you didn't live one. You just can't. So why try to do that? So go just play from your experiences and what's in your heart, and be the best that you can be. And from whatever concept it is, my concept is to learn from everybody. If your concept is not to learn from somebody, just go do it, man. But you can't. Nobody can have everything, and nobody can be the greatest. And that's the greatest lesson for me. And one thing my father used to always say: the world don't stop for nobody, so nobody's that important. And if you look at it, Beethoven passed away, and the world kept going. All these great people and great musicians left us, and it keeps going. And we revere them, but nobody's so important that the world is not gonna stop for you. So just be humble and be thankful that you're here, that you got a chance. Everybody who's born is a miracle. I think it's 40 trillion to one, 400 trillion to one, that the odds of you being born. So you're a miracle. Everybody's a miracle. And to think of yourself like that, but still be humble. It's a miracle that you're here. So take that miracle and do the best you can. And my last motto is: do the best you can on the bandstand and get the hell out the way. Let the next
um, Now, I noticed that your website has just recently been updated.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I forgot about the classical music I'm writing. I think we talked about that. I've been composing orchestras.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do some multi-genre orchestral works as well. But uh, that's been a fun thing to do, to hear a big ensemble play some music that you wrote, and it sounds pretty good.
Now, do you use like notation software, or how do you
Yeah, I
compose?
just basically I sit in the bed with my computer and write some pieces. But I use Finale for mine. So
Mm,
I'm glad that they have Finale, because I remember when I used to have to write big band charts by hand,
mm.
and that's a task. But now you can copy and get an idea. You want to repeat it, you can copy and paste. You can change things around. Say, oh, I want to move it a little bit. You don't have to keep writing all these pages and pages, man.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I did not like. I don't like putting it in the computer either, but I did not like writing all those pages and pages.
So you are the big chief of Congo Square. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, that's through being part of the culture in New Orleans. Congo Square is a place where Africans were allowed to play drums, and some of the early players, like Sidney Bechet, who said, "Everything I play comes from Congo Square."
Mm.
And you can hear, being in the culture, I can hear the players that are actually playing stuff from Congo Square, and know that they put stuff from Africa in jazz. So it's wonderful for me to hear. And it's also wonderful that some of those things that they put into the music are still alive today, and that culture is also still alive and a root contributor to the music of New Orleans, and anything else that is influenced by it. So it's just wonderful to have that understanding of the connection. I was recently also made a big chief in the Republic of Congo, the
Mm.
Queen. So now I'm a chief on two continents, in
Ha
Africa
ha ha.
and America. That feels pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, so you have any other future goals or projects that you're currently that are like about to be hot off the press?
Yeah, I have this CD that we hopefully can get out. It's called the Eclectic Jazz Revolution of Unity. So
Mm.
it's actually it took about 10 years to make because I just did a little bit at a time. But we hope to get it out and it'll show how we're trying to bring people together and stretch the music into whatever places we feel comfortable bringing it, and hopefully people can understand the journey that we're trying to provide for them and dig it. They dug a lot of the other music, so we're just keeping our fingers crossed that the people dig it.
So how do you stay so engaged in uh, uh, you're so interested in what's going on. It's like you're still pressing. I mean, you're still moving forward. How do you do that? What do you think about that motivates that kind of constant forward motion?
Well, I did a record called Quantum Leap, which deals with quantum physics and how that can be part of jazz. I came up with something because, in my estimation, music is two dimensional, but some kind of way I figured out how to make it four dimensional.
Mm.
So that's and in fact, I have to call a quantum physicist tomorrow. He was going to call me tonight. He told me he was thinking about me because they actually quote me in some physicists
Mm.
and quote me and use me as an example. But one of the things that got me into that was just looking into the sky and seeing the stars and knowing that there's infinity out there.
Mm.
So there's no way for us to tap into all the things that are in the universe, but we can be part of it and go as far as we can. But we're all in tandem with the universe. Everything, I tell talking about dancing. I was telling my nephew Christian Scott, if you look at the trees when they're blowing in the wind, they move back and forth naturally. When you see, especially Africans dance, they move so naturally. And if you, I've even done this, and he laughed. I said, if you take a dog and you move him in time with the music, he's going to move naturally. You're going to see he's going to be in rhythm with the music, or
Hmm.
a sheep, whatever. The dog is going to. Animals are in tune with the universe. That to me, that's showing that we're all in tune with it because things move so naturally. Everything, the sky, the stars, everything moves naturally. So I always wanted to use those elements for the music. And when you see me dance, then you know that I'm thinking about more than dancing. It's also the dancing is being in tune with the universe. So I told my nephew we should start a jazz dance, a jazz musicians dance challenge like they have on the internet. Like,
Mm.
let me see your jazz musician do the nay. Let me see your Dougie. See which jazz musician is going to take the challenge and get up there and Dougie show us I'm in touch with the universe too. You know,
Hmm.
I think it'd be wonderful and it's fun too.
Yeah, that's very interesting to me. So um, one of the things that is implied uh, about our music and a critical component of it is polyrhythm.
Right.
So it's like these other rhythms that are happening simultaneously, and one of the things that is um, you know I have my students especially my first year students, I have them do this thing where they put their foot on 2 and 4.
Mm.
They're playing eighth notes, and they're swinging the eighth notes like a bebop eighth note, where you have the emphasis on the third part of the beat, because we know it's triplets, right? On the emphasis on the third part of the beat, and they've got their foot on 2 and 4, and it's amazing the number. I mean, I'd say it's about 40% of them struggle really, really hard to do that.
Initially,
Initially, they
hopefully,
struggle. They struggle really hard to do that because because it's a polyrhythm,
right.
right? And so there's the sort of coordination to get to get together. But one thing I also noticed was that for those that were struggling with that, if you can get more of their body involved in the movement, they stop struggling.
Hmm.
So if they stand up and if they march 2, 3, 4, and they do that, then all of a sudden there's no issue. All of that goes away because more of their body is involved in the movement, so it feels less like they're micromanaging something. When you talk about how something feels, I dig this drummer's feel, or I like that saxophone player's feel. Inherent in that is something that is felt physically. That's dance.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not telling everybody that they have to do that. I'm just joking, but that's who I am, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
And everybody's got to do it their way. But if you've had success, maybe I'm on to something. But and you're proving that could be should be incorporated into instructing young people who want to learn this music. Because I remember I can tell you when I got to Harlem when I was 19 years old, I was playing up there with Jack McDuff, and there were two older ladies who were in the club, and they pulled me on the side. They said, "Hey, little boy, you about to learn how to Lindy Hop." They said, "You can't play this music unless you know how to Lindy Hop." And they proceeded to teach me how to Lindy Hop. I could pick it up because those kind of things were easy to me. They were like, "Oh, this little boy got it already anyway." But coming from New Orleans, we always danced to jazz.
Mm.
My dad took me to the second line every Sunday. So I never thought that you're not supposed to dance to jazz. So maybe a new movement is gonna come up. You never know.
Well, is there anything that you want to mention, or something you want to talk about that we didn't talk about?
Yeah, I'll say this about the dance thing. When uh when I did Nouveau Swing, I said I play from a dancer's perspective. Guys were joking on me, saying, "Oh, we about to do a dance routine up here," because they didn't understand what I meant. Uh, you got your Motown steps, and I joke with them. I say, "Yeah, let's get some Motown steps." But in the last 10 years, like if I'm playing somewhere, Jimmy Heath came to me and told me, "Yeah, you got that right. You learn the lyrics, and you should learn the dance steps too." And then we get
Mm.
on the bandstand, and he started dancing and winking at me and laughing. And Dr. Lonnie played with him. He gets on the bandstand and starts dancing. So the older guys, and I even heard Barry Harris saying, "This is dance music," uh, in a video. So if they say it, then maybe maybe it is cool. But yeah, I mean, we touched on a lot of things, and I just say, for me, just do what's in your heart, be happy with the results, and and have fun out here, and don't let nobody tell you how to do your thing if you don't want to go that route. Believe in yourself, because uh, as my sister and my mother say, your gut is a genius.
Huh. And on that note, I want to say again, thank you so much for your time and for your energy. And um, I certainly enjoyed this, and I look forward to hanging with you again soon. And please be safe. You know, I pray for you and your family, and for our country and for our world, to get through this whole thing.
Yeah, I say the same thing. Yes, you stay safe, and everybody wear your mask and your gloves. Stay inside as much as possible. Go out only when you need to. Leave alone when you want to.
All right, God bless you, man, and
God
I will
bless you.
see you later.
All right, brother.
All right, now.
Take care.